All right, everyone. Yesterday, Trump got attacked by like Feinstein, Jerry Brown, the usual individuals, as well as like the propagandist legacy media. They were insinuating to people that Trump had called immigrants animals, but he was actually referring to MS13 like a gang of illegal immigrants. If they're operating within the U.S., talking about a street gang that encompasses predominantly people who are illegally here, if they're operating on this side of the border. Trump said, oh, well, we're going to try to do something about that. Those people are animals. He's referring to the gang. If he were to say, Aryan Nation, they're animals, or ISIS are animals, or something, do you think the New York Times would fucking care? But instead, they decided to take a selectively edited clip out of context and present it as though he was talking about immigrants. They decided to do a little selective editing there. So shame on the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, for apparently either reporting this maliciously or not fact-checking it. And by the way, it shows a stunning lack of intelligence when people who are in Congress or people who are governors of, like Jerry Brown, he's the governor of California. Feinstein is a senator. These are elected officials that are supposedly, these people are supposed to be at least somewhat sane and intelligent. Now, of course, that usually doesn't actually happen. Like, the White House has been filled with morons before. Look at George W. It's nice to know that the first mentally disabled president occurred during my lifetime, but, it wasn't great, and he started some wars, and then he botched the FEMA response to Katrina and expanded the surveillance state, the Patriot Act. Okay, basically he did everything wrong. But yeah, it's pretty funny when people who are elected officials apparently can't wrap their heads around the concept that they basically got hoodwinked by the legacy media. Which is exactly what happened. These people, I think some of them probably they got fooled by it. They assumed that the clip that they were seeing was accurate. But if you actually listen to the whole thing, Trump is clearly referring to MS-13, not to immigrant communities in general. Not even to illegal immigrants in general. By the way, right now we've got a massive dust-up going in California where San Diego, among other locations, has refused to cooperate with the state and saying, no, you don't have the right to force us to be in a sanctuary state. We will follow the law. We're working with the federal government. I think San Diego County is run by a Democrat, which is the really, really funny part. California is in a world of shit, essentially. Illinois has this problem with gun rights. State of Illinois passed draconian and unconstitutional gun control. Now a bunch of communities are saying, no, we're not going to abide by it. Come and enforce it. Come and take it, basically. Go ahead and try, see what happens. They'll win, by the way. They'll be found by the Supreme Court to have the right to opt out of a state's rules if those rules conflate with the U.S. Constitution. If they don't coincide with constitutional supremacy, then they can be ignored. Jurisprudence, no citizen is bound to obey unconstitutional rules, and no court is bound to enforce them. It's as clear as day, it's as simple as that. So these communities have every right to opt out. As far as Trump goes, though, there's this mythology that Trump hates immigrants that's been prevalent, and it's partially because of his off-the-wall statements that he did make while he was campaigning. It's partially because the media takes everything out of context, and it's partially because a lot of people, I think, for some reason, they've got it in their heads that someone who legally migrated here, did the paperwork, they got their green card, they have like a life here, that they must of necessity have something in common with somebody who jumped over a fence, even if they're a member of like an actual cartel or something. I think that it is because this is insulting to legal immigrants that I see the Democratic Party having real fucking problems in the future with people who are second, third generation immigrants, I think abandoning them. And we see this even among younger immigrants. There's a slow erosion of democratic supremacy with their voting. There's a demographic shift. Now all the alt-righters will talk about demographics all day. You bring that particular shift up and they ignore it. Or they don't want to talk to you anymore, not without good reason, because, of course, they're still claiming Texas will go blue by 2024. I'll take that bet. I'll bet you anything it stays red. Unless the Democrats reform as a party and they have a candidate that's not an actual liberal, unless they become a populist movement, in which case it won't matter because they'll basically be like Trump. It would be really, really funny if they tried to out-Trump Donald Trump. That would be amusing. It's possible. I just don't think it's likely. I think the Democrats will stubbornly cling to neoliberal authoritarianism and globalism, which is another way of saying rebranded imperialism. I think they'll stay with Merkelist Nazism over everything else. MS-13, though, you have a gang that cuts people's heads off and hangs them off of highway overpasses to frighten the police. And Trump's not supposed to weigh in and say, well, like they're thugs or something like that. No, he's not allowed to say that. It's politically incorrect. So Feinstein and Jerry Brown, they have more of a problem with Trump insulting gang members than with the gang members themselves. That's rather telling. Again, it's gonna be a problem for the Democrats with a lot of middle America sort of voters. They don't like this sort of bullshit, and why should they? Trump, for all the problems that he maybe has on some issues, at least according to me, Syria, black sites, and some others, regardless of all that, at least he's willing to not pretend there's no problem. On immigration, you've got the tale of two cities. The first city is the Democratic city. The Democrats say, what problem? Oh, look at burning houses and gang violence and cartels. That's not a problem. Get used to it. It's the new normal, you shithead, fucking Nazi. That's basically what the Democrats are saying. Trump says, hey, there's a problem. We might need to do something about it. I'm willing to negotiate with the Democrats, but there are a few things I guarantee, like a wall. Oh my God, what a terrible, horrible, politically incorrect thing to say. He wants to build a border wall. There are no other walls in the entire world. No, they don't exist. Fences are never erected to delineate the border between countries. They always bring up like Western Europe. Okay, so in the Schengen zone, yeah, there's really no borders there. It's becoming a problem for the Western Europeans. What about that don't you understand? It is a problem. Here we do things a little bit differently. Thankfully, we are not a conglomerate of different states that actually were sovereign to begin with. Semi-sovereign. It's literally called states. They're kind of like nations, and we're kind of a federation of states in the most literal sense. You don't, by the way, probably hear that in your textbooks very much when you're taking a history class or something. No, Trump did nothing wrong. Feinstein, Jerry Brown, MSNBC, and all these, they should apologize to him. They should apologize for one of two things, either because they were malicious and they got caught out being malicious, or because they're stupid and they got caught out being stupid, didn't understand that they were basically being hoodwinked by a selectively edited video clip. That's what it boils down to. That's about all. Peace out.